Welcome to the Naja Show, aka I Know I'm Crazy, aka the Naja Hall Show. I haven't exactly figured out what I'm going to name this one yet, but this is my very first interview in the new studio, and this is going to be one of my most important videos, one of the most important ones of my career, because I'm sitting here with an esteemed guest, my mother. This is the very Nancy Matthews. This is the lady that created me. Well, she's halfway responsible for creating me. I want to have a very intelligent, informed conversation with my mom, just so happened in front of you all. I have some questions in my mind that I want to go over with her. So I'm just going to get right into it. We're not going to give a long intro, but I do want to tell you some things about Nancy Matthews. This is Nancy Matthews. She is proudly 66 years old, a native of Memphis, Tennessee. Mom and dad are here visiting my husband and I here in New York City, and we've had the time of our lives this past week. They've gotten to do their very first Broadway show in 50 years of you and dad knowing each other.
Relationship, yes, correct.
Yeah, very first Broadway show. We've barbecued, we've walked on the water, we've done all the things that you could think of. But I wanted to have a conversation with mom. Number one, to keep it in my keepsakes, just to have something for me. And I also see the comments and conversations that daughters have with their mothers. And I think I know I'm a very blessed one. Number one, to have my mom still here, still in her right mind, sound body, great spirits, and we have a wonderful relationship. And I just want to ask some questions. Over the years, we've gotten to have some real deep woman-to-woman questions. And I left home when I was 17 to go away to school. And you always encouraged me and the twins, my sisters, to go. You never wanted us to stay in Memphis. You wanted us to go. Why were you encouraging us to go? Because there's a lot of mothers that would be cool and that want their children right under them. Why'd you encourage us to fly the coop?
Okay, first, Naja, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on your show. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate being in New York City at this time, especially with you and Tony. But because that was one of the things that I was not able to do. Not that we could not afford it, but it's because mainly my mom did not want me to leave the city. She did not want me to leave the city. And I felt at 18, everybody, should go if they had an opportunity to go. Mine was the military. Mm-hmm. Then she said, no, I don't want you in the military. And then I wanted to go to college. And she said no. So I went to a black college in Memphis, Tennessee, but I did instill in you and encourage you all to go to out of town to college to see the world.
And we all had the opportunity to do that. So why did Grandma tell you that she didn't want you? What was that about? Knowing, I guess, I'm sure she had her reasons then, all those years ago. But looking back, what was the real reason she did not want you to leave?
Mainly because I was the fourth child out of 6, and the other 3 did not have any ambition in going, but I wanted to go. And then I said the military, and she had a brother that died in the Korea War, got killed at 21, and she said definitely not military. Yeah. And then I guess the application for me to go out of town to college was too late, and then so she said, we'll just go to college and then here in Memphis, mm-hmm. and then go later.
Okay,
but
okay, that never happened. So why did that not happen? Why did you end up staying in Memphis?
Okay, and that's probably the reason why you are here today. I met this young man, Nathaniel Matthews, and
Dad?
Yes. Married 46 years. We dated 4 before we got married. And he just fell in love with me. Mm-hmm. And he kept writing letters and said, well, you don't have to go, you don't have to go. And then we dated my second 2 years into college.
Because you met in high school.
We met in high school.
When you were 16.
That's correct.
And you're 66 now, so that's 50 years.
That's 50 years.
You've known him longer than you've not known him.
Yes, mm-hmm. yes, a long, long time. And he...
So it was kind of a guy that convinced you to stay in the city? Because you didn't get pregnant with me right away.
No.
You guys met at 16 and you had me when you were 24.
That's right.
Wait, how old was y'all? Were y'all when you got married?
20.
You were 20
when we got married. Yes, 20 we got married. So you can say
that's young. Was that young for back then?
that's young for back then. Very young for back then.
So what made you decide to get married instead of saying, "Oh, I've graduated from college now. You know what, sir? I love you. I'm gonna move to somewhere else besides the city."
Well, in my second year in college, we got married.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
So you were a sophomore in college?
Yes, and got married.
How did you manage to graduate though? Because Dad wasn't in college. He didn't go to school.
Right. It was very. It was a very, very busy time for me. Very busy time. But I guess I was in love. I was in college. I was working.
Yeah.
Right, and I just wanted a lot of things in my life. So traveling is one of them.
And you get to do that now.
I get to.
Because they be everywhere.
Everywhere.
So she's gotten to make up for that.
All the
Do
times.
you regret getting married so young and settling down? You know, just you've had a lot of time to reflect. Would you have done things differently?
I think I would have.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have had I, if I know.
Let's get real.
Now,
Let's get real because we're trying to teach too.
I know
back
then I would say 20 was a bit young.
Yeah.
Was a bit young because again, I don't know if everybody know what shedding your wild oats were, but neither one of us had did that because we had that many other relationships beside that one. So we had to grow on our own. I think that was a good aspect of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by being the first for us, and we was in love. We was determined, to set goals and everything that we set, we was able to do it. We was able to get it, and so that
So you said something. You had to grow up in your marriage because you two were each other's basically first everything.
That's
got
correct.
your first house together, had first kids together, first love, all these milestones that you hit. But you still, looking back at 20 years old, I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You still were very much a child, so you had to grow up in your marriage. Did you all have to grow up at each other's expense sometimes?
Well,
and I was there. I saw it. I'm just asking so y'all can know.
Well, communication was very important. When I first met him, I was real nice, quiet. But because we had to mature, it had to, and I had to, put my foot down. And he didn't hear me say that, but I had to put my big girl shoes on, my boots on. I had to tie them real tight because I was determined. I wanted to make that work. Just like I finished high school, I finished college. We set goals. We talked about it. We got our cars. We got our clothes. Our place to stay. Everything was quality. Whatever we wanted, we worked hard for, and we got it.
Yeah. So
for that. Maturing along the way.
When you were in your 20s, what was the hardest part about being married to Dad?
Well, by both of us, I can say this, by both of us being, a very attractive young people. It wasn't hard for us to develop that kind of love and understanding so that we could not have any trust issues. Trust issues. So, that's one thing I was not worried about, insecurity or
I've never
right.
seen
We
you.
never worried about that because, we feel confident in that, I'm not going to be a cheater, you're not going to be a cheater, because way down in our DNA, we have family members on both sides that were.
So it's in the family DNA on both sides.
Right. So
to be cheaters.
So right. So we established that. We're not gonna do that. So we was focused on our goals.
Yeah.
Focus on our goals. Our goals was to buy a car. buy a house, have a baby at a certain time, and all that came, just like.
So I was planned.
You was planned. By all means, you were planned.
Okay.
You was planned. Yes.
So let's just, because I see in a lot of relationships now, there's this trope on the internet. You meet a guy and you see his potential and you fall in love with his potential. And a lot of people online, a lot of people in different communities now say, no, you don't fall in love with a man's potential, because that'll get you in trouble. Because what if he never meets his potential? And I've heard Dad tell a whole bunch of stories about, when he used to load tires on the truck when he was young. And then he started working at the car dealership. And then he had a massive success, doing that as a business all throughout me and the twins' childhood. So did you see the potential in him when he was that young little boy that would walk all the way from South Memphis to Whitehaven, from his parents' house to your mother's house? Did you see the potential in him, and what did you think he would be?
I saw the potential in him. I saw something different in him than a lot of guys his age. When he first got his a car, it was a car in an Ambassador. And he got it, and I remember it was cream yellow. Before then, we used to catch the bus. And
y'all would catch the bus to see each other?
We used to catch the bus to go out on dates and all of that. And then he used to pay his friends, his brother or my sister, to take us on a date and pick us up. I saw that, how he handled and did that. I saw how he loved my family. And when I went around his family, I loved them. So I saw that in him. I saw that he wanted things. He wanted to have things.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. Speaking of in-laws, because I grew up. I know the stories. I've seen the stories. I live the stories. And what about marrying into a particular family? What advice can you give? Now I know I'm already married, but you got two other girls that are not. What should a person look for to avoid? To be like, you know what, I love you, but your family is off. I'm not married into this family. What should a woman, especially, what should she avoid?
We had that discussion at an early age, but it did not develop into realization till much later, because he was from a big family. And so was I. 6
kids on both sides?
On both sides. My mom had 4 girls and two brothers.
Boys.
And his mom had 4 boys and 2 girls. So it was a big family on each side. And both was close-knit.
Yeah.
Both are
very close-knit.
Very, very close-knit. So it was more difficult, for him as it was for me to, wean away.
What do they say? Cleave to your wife. Cleave to your spouse, right?
That's what the Bible says.
It was harder for him. Why was it harder for him than you? Is it because you're a Libra and you just fly anyway?
And basically, that's got something to do with the balance. The balance. But I feel that my parents wanted me to go and establish a life on my own, by myself. And, if I needed their help, then we could ask. But, and so did his family, because they were really, really proud. They were really proud of the relationship. However, there's going to be some issues with in-law. And if I know then, like I know now, when we got married, we would have moved far away. Far away, so that connection could be only when we visit. Yeah. But since we were in the same city,
I'm
in the same neighborhood.
Because your mother, my one set of grandparents, well, they're probably 10 miles away.
Yes.
So we got to see both sides.
Yes.
Pretty fairly, kind of equally. You spend more time with your mother's side of the family. That's how it was for us. But we definitely went around our paternal side too. You would have moved further away. You would have put some distance in between it.
I really would. I really recommend it, because when it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say that sister-in-law, brother-in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law they are not going to get into your business because they still know that as being a sibling or a child. So, there's going to be some, if not lines are drawn, some order of disrespect. With anybody by, simply to say, I'm your sister, but that, that's just your wife.
Well, see, I guess my experience has been so drastically different. Like, I say God don't give you everything, but we'll talk about my blended family scenario in a second. But where that's a problem area, that's been conflict in my life, as far as with my in-laws, I call them my in-loves.
Right.
I haven't experienced that. Like, I do understand that there's a fine line. Like, yes, I know they know that Tony is their son. But I think with my in-laws, they've had enough experience with, their children being married to know where to step back and where to intercede. And, hey, if you tap me, I'll help. But otherwise, I'm not in it. But I did see something different with what you experienced with family being codependent and oppressive almost and very opinionated. And that's one thing, just from seeing your experience with your in-laws, I was like, I can't deal with that. Or just you need to have a man that can put his foot down and just say no. But I think Dad learned that, maybe in his 40s or 50s?
Yes. Yes.
60s?
Yes.
He might just learned it?
Yes. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, that was a hard pill to swallow for me because that did not happen on my side.
Yeah.
No, my family did not do that, but they just loved and respected the relationship.
And they loved and respected the sanctity of marriage.
That's the institution of marriage.
Was Grandma always kind to Dad?
Oh, I think for him, my mom, my aunt, I think they were more in love with him than me.
Yeah. Bae was crazy about him. He was crazy about her too. We're talking about my great aunt Bae, who's Mama's aunt. I was born on her birthday, so she was my great aunt, but she just acted like she was my mother.
Yes.
She's like one of the matriarchs of our family.
Yes.
She was child free, but all of us, we were all her children. So that's when she says her aunt. That's the aunt that she's talking about.
That is aunt.
Yeah.
Amen. That is aunt.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your mother's not here anymore, and Grandma. How do you, looking back all the years, how would you describe y'all's relationship? Your relationship with your own mother?
It's strange to say. Now everybody say I look like her. I look like her, and then I find myself thinking like her. Our relationship was good. Mama was she was Mama. I mean, very, very spiritual, very loving. As a individual, among I think all of us, our communication wasn't as strong. Now, Bae, I was able to float and talk to her, but Mom and I did not. Especially growing up, I went to Bae and told her everything, and then I hear her telling Mama everything I said. Everything I told her.
I know you used to tell us when we were younger, you said, y'all don't have to tell me, you don't have to talk to me, but find yourself somebody to talk to. So Bae was your person.
Yes.
And then she would go and snitch and tell everything you said to Grandma.
And she did. And Mama knew that. And Mama, because Mama...
She was cool with that.
Mama was cool with that because she told me, because I would never talk to her about anything.
How come? I mean, you have three sisters, 2 older sisters and one that's under you. Was it just, you hear mother and daughters bumping heads?
We did not bump heads. She loved it, each one of us. But just to be able to communicate, I guess I wanted to do things my way, instead of asking her, because I know that she did not travel or go out of town to college and do all of that. And I wanted something different, so I had to get it, from somebody that did that. Mama didn't do that, and I said I want to do things a little different.
Yeah.
And so my aunt, she was a traveler. She was a traveler, flamboyant, and did all of that. So I used to go and talk to her, and I said, "Hey, babe, I think I want to uh, I think I may want to get on birth control pills. And I'll spend the night with her, and she'll, honey, honey. She calls my mom, honey. Nancy want to do this. And your mama will come, but mama did tell me.
Mm-hmm.
She told me, she said, it's not good to hold anything in.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm sharing with you and any woman or man or anybody. Find somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm. That you can trust.
That you can trust.
Even though Bae snitched, you still trusted her?
I still trusted her. I still trust her.
I didn't know she was snitching.
Yeah, every time, because Mama would come back and tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Mama would come back and tell me what she said, and I said, well, I don't have nobody else, so I had to go. I had to tell her.
Did y'all's relationship progressively change over the years as you got older? Because you saw her in her 30s, 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. She passed when she was 89 a couple years ago. So, did you notice that the relationship was still the same, or did it change completely?
I think it developed. When I got married, even though I didn't call her, I never ever talked to her about any of my marital problems. But I used to call her, and she just used to give me a lot of words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her being a fine lady, beautiful shape, and all of that. Ambitious, a business owner, a strong lady.
Mm-hmm.
She not a people person like Aunt Babe, but she was able to handle business because she was a business owner.
Yeah.
And I saw the respectability that everybody had for her. And for that, I used to call and, how you doing? We should always call and always visit.
Yes.
Now, always visit. I told him, especially as we got older, do not, I'm not going to go too far, where I can't visit, mom.
Yeah.
I can't visit mom. And, and that was it.
Did you get to say everything to her that you wanted to say?
I got to say everything. We had a good relationship. We talked. We laughed. She told me, her demands, what she wanted, what happened in her life, what she went through, and she said, I don't want to see, my kids go through. So she used to say, do this and do that and do this. And when I didn't respond, she said, well, you're not listening. But I said, yes, I am.
I'm not going to do what you say.
That's what I said. That's what I was, I didn't.
What was one thing that she went through that she wanted you all to avoid experiencing?
I think being content in our life, in a relationship. Now, I don't know how much you saw me and your dad fuss and argue.
I was a very nosy kid.
So
I would always listen. That's why I know all the stories.
But we did try, to close the door and hide. I don't know if y'all put a glass on the door.
Well, it must have been thin walls.
However, that's one thing she did not want because, we saw the fussing and fighting because,
With her and Granddad.
Yes, because the house was much smaller. Because when you all grew up, I think we only had one story. And then the homes got bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So, but we only had one. And, we used to see that. And, she said, well, don't find nobody that's, nagging and, have you confused or upset. She liked a peace.
And I would hear, the experiences that she had with Granddaddy being physically abusive. I mean, that's not something that we can shy away from if that's what happened. And that's something that y'all actually saw growing up. And I know you had the rule. I remember you telling me one day, I was walking down the street in Harlem, and you and I were talking about something, and you said, Mama had this rule, or you had this rule with Dad. Like, if we have boys, if we physically have to punish them, you can do the boys. She was like, but you said, I don't want you laying a hand on my girls. And Dad never spanked us. He never swatted us. He never gave us a pop. I don't even think he's ever raised his voice. Maybe once. So I remember that being one of your rules, just from something that you saw and that you had experienced.
And for what I saw and what I experienced, when I started dating at a very young age, there was one factor that I let him know, and I can say that after 50 years, that's one thing that he never did, will not do. And that, that's lay his hands on me.
Yeah.
Right, so physical abuse was out the way.
Yeah.
Out the way, but changing our tones and some of our words we might have did, but of course, that toned down, later on in our marriage.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to church and being a part of the church, that all changed and helped us spiritually grow. Right.
You and I were talking earlier when I was doing your nails, and you said, no, at 42 years old, you were looking at Tony and I's marriage and our relationship. And you said, you were like, at 42, you said you could have taken a gun and knocked Dad's head off. You all were different then. So what's the difference that you see, I guess, me being a 42-year-old woman and at yourself and where you were at 42? By the time you were 42, I was in high school probably. And then the twins may have been 8 or 9, I think. So you had 3 kids at 42. You had a husband, you'd been married at that point 20-something years. So way different circumstance than me. But what do you remember your life being like when you were my age? Like, what was a day like as a 42-year-old Nancy?
Okay, one thing about it, and I guess that's from my background. I'm a people person. I'm a people person, and I tell anybody, any young lady, in a relationship, the lady have to be the one to fashion the relationship, the tonality of what going on around her, the demeanor, the smile, the house, the food, how everything is done. The woman fashions that relationship, and excuse me, if you set those ground rules, early on, it won't change.
Yeah.
It won't change. No matter a social worker by nature, one of my careers, and then I went out to work, to help other people. And so I think another young lady asked me the same thing. You always come, you always smile, and you always so nice. How is everything? How do you let that happen? And I told her, I said, my husband and I could have the biggest argument in the world, but when I come out in the public, I don't let that.
You don't take that stuff with you.
Right. But when I get home, we start back over. I said, we finished that. We finished that. So, but, I say to keep that out of confusion, keep that confusion out of your life.
Okay.
You have to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
Right, to be rounded, and then you're going to have to nip things in the bud early when you see them.
Nip them in the bud early.
Early.
Don't let them go on. Don't let them fester.
You just cannot do that, not for a day, not for a week, and especially, again, when you got communication problems with your in-laws, or somebody don't like you, somebody do all of that.
You got to nip it in the bud. Because I think those little ears, those little noises, those naysayers, they can come in and plant seeds.
Right.
Some really rotten. They can grow some rotten roots, and they can fester into plants of nothingness.
Right.
So nip it in the bud. That's some good advice.
Very quickly.
You've known me for 42 years now. What did you think of me when you first met me?
You know what? When I look at you, I did not see a mini-me, because you not only said what you wanted to do, you immediately did it. You immediately did it, and didn't waste time doing it. You did not tell me. You did not tell me till you was getting ready to do it. But I remember, I think when you're like 15, we went to a graduation, Little Mary's graduation, and her mom was crying, and everybody was crying, and then I was crying, And then you say, well, Mama, you might as well get ready for this. You say, because I'm going out of town to college. I'm not going to live in Memphis.
I don't remember saying that.
Well, and you said,
but you would remember.
You said it. I said, oh, goodness. So, that did help prepare me.
I think you prepped us also to let us know that it was okay to go.
It was okay. It was okay to go and explore. It was okay. I wanted you to do it because I didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah. You almost pushed us out of the coop. Like,
it's time to.
I guess, they say, with parents, sometimes your children are your opportunity to see like extensions of the things that you may not have gotten or that you didn't get to experience. Right. So,
And I'm happy about that.
Yeah, you never made it so that we couldn't come back home.
No.
That's for sure. You didn't make it like that. But just say whatever you need, whatever it takes to go, you can go.
If that's where
I never felt that pressure to stay right up under you.
No. And then, it was hard for me to cut the umbilical cord. I didn't want to see you go, but I wanted in your mind, if that's what you want to do, you should go, and you have our support. You have my support.
What do you think of the woman that I've become?
Okay.
And do you like the woman that I've become?
I really, really do. I really, really do. I'm really proud. I'm really grateful because you have made friends. Mm-hmm. You have accumulated a family wherever you go. Mm-hmm. Wherever you go. And I seen you at UT Martin and Texas. And in New York. And in each place, I was able to meet your friends.
My circle, my crew.
And I love that. And for that reason, I'm really proud.
Yeah.
I'm really proud. When I talk to you, you all were brought up in a church. Mm-hmm. So I always, let you know to pray. Mm-hmm. You can always talk to me, but I say talk to God first because He is there with you all the time. It's going to take me a minute to get where you are.
He said, God can get that faster than I can.
He's right there already. He's right
so you holler God first.
I say, but I'm on my way.
Yeah.
I'm on my way. So for that reason, I'm proud. Everything, the goals that you wanted. I remember your first, your car, the car, mm-hmm. the Jaguar, and then the little poodle dog you had, and the lemon furniture you had in Texas.
Texas. I was so proud of that little apartment. I had the life too. I had a luxury car and a little doggy that I kept in my purse like Paris Hilton did. Yes. It was fashionable back then in the early 2000s. I remember that. And that furniture. Oh,
it was so beautiful. And you had yellow roses when I visited. Uh-huh. All with the master furniture. And then you just called me up one day and you said, Mama, I'm tired of the corporate world. I'm ready to move to New York. I said, who, what, when, where?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, I think I want to go and pursue a career in the arts and entertainment. There's an artist somewhere in me. And that was 16 years ago now. I've been here since July 2007.
And, I never questioned it. I never doubted it that, you wasn't going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And you did. Mm-hmm. Not to say just like my marriage, my childhood, my life, in yours, there have not been ups and downs and struggles, but you was able to...
Yeah. I was able to figure it out. And I knew that I had support, too. I knew that I had support. I knew, and most importantly, I knew I could always go back home.
Always.
If all else not failed, but if things didn't work out, if I changed my mind, I said, okay, at least I have a home base to bounce to.
A family that I think... one thing I think everybody that know this story. Every Sunday you call your grandmother, and every Sunday she'll say, "Come home. When you coming home?"
She would say, "When are you moving back to Memphis?" And I remember, just so happened during the pandemic, it was 2020. We went to Texas first, and then came to Memphis after that because I was like, "It's a pandemic. New York is shut down. We can't do anything. So let's just go home." We stayed in Dallas for a while, and ended up staying in Memphis because both of my grandmothers were ailing at that point. And I just remember saying, I think I'm gonna stay. I think I'm gonna ride this out because I had a feeling that we were in the twilight with them. And lo and behold, during that year 2020, they both passed 3 months from each other. And I remember my last conversation with Grandma. I was like, Grandma, I told you I was going to live in Memphis because they didn't let us in the hospital to surround her and ceremoniously, like I thought it would be when your grandparent passes. You know, we all thought we would be able to be huddled around and say our goodbyes. We had to say goodbye on the phone. But Mama was in the room with her at the end. Just one person they let in the hospital room. And I remember saying, Grandma, I love you and thank you for being, I said, you fulfilled your role as a grandmother. You can go. I was like, thank you. I said, you've been a great grandma. I said, and Grandma, I told you I was going to come back to Memphis, didn't I? Because I had been there. And so that was a cool moment. That was a real cool moment.
I got it.
You know, we got to have and say goodbye to her. If you were not my mother, do you think me and you'd be friends? Like, we'd be homegirls or we hang out?
Yes, yes, because I like your honesty. I like your personality, your demeanor. I like your trustworthiness to tell me, you know, about myself, and then you're here, or you know, I have to say about, you know, you.
Yeah.
So that's what I like in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I remember a couple of weeks ago, I remember saying to you, I was like, you were telling me that somebody was leaving. I think you guys were visiting the family in Chicago, and they had showered you and Dad. It was your anniversary.
Yes.
They showered you with all these gifts, and you was like, Naja, I just cried, and I was so thankful. And I was like, where did this crying stuff come from? You did not cry. I never saw you cry, be hurt. I'm sure you had moments of hurt when we were growing up, but I never saw that. And I was like, who is this woman? Like, who is this Nancy that cries now? So what happened? Who are you now? Because you know, you hug now, you're affectionate now. I never saw that. So who are you?
And you know what? There has been a change in my life. Now I'm still bold but beautiful.
The bold and the beautiful.
but as being feisty and hardcore,
Yeah.
I don't think I have to be that anymore. If everyone don't know, they do call me Fancy Nancy now, and I am an author of a book.
And we will definitely post a link below.
And the book is B9. And so in my life, I have ascertained all the attributes of the fruit of the Spirit, the 9 fruit of the Spirit. And so that's where the softness comes, the compassion comes, the kindness comes. I'm not saying that, you know, when the cheek is turned the other way, I have to think and pray first. But, you know, I do come across a little different.
I remember you saying also, you were like, I remember when I was a certain age and y'all were growing up, I didn't have time to be soft or think about weeping or being vulnerable because I was dealing with your dad.
Right.
And, you know, things like you were doing that. You were raising us. And I don't know how much, you know, we have definitely had a present father. He was there in the house. But speak to that a little bit. Like, what did you mean when you said that?
Well, again, to be married at a young age and to mature in the marriage, when there were some things that, you know, I like or didn't like, you know, I just had to, you know, aggressively get my point across because, you know, my husband is like a 6'2", and, you know, we both are from Memphis and the hard side of core. So, you know, we work and establish a very professional lifestyle, careers, you know, that, you know, we didn't financially was always able to do what we had to do. But to sacrifice and sit back, I had time to observe and see, you know, if a person's personality is changing, you know, what is going on. And that's with my husband and my girls. I was able to just look. But yes, I did have to make some sacrifices within myself because I was young. But I wanted to make sure that you all had what you all needed. And by, you know, me being a good mother or a good wife and then an employee, student or whatever, I just wanted to, you know, I had to make some sacrifices. And so I had to know how, what, when, and to do. And then, like Mama said, it may not have been her, but somebody was positioned in my life, at the time that I needed, to help me along the way.
Yeah.
To make sure, because everybody know, it's easy to walk away.
Yeah.
It's easy to walk away. I have family members, female and male, have just walked away. Have just walked away. And I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be obligated to do this. I'm young. I got a life. But I didn't want to go that route.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go
I
that
also
route.
recall Dad at one point, we called my dad Daddy, saying that he, like, let's just say you guys had said, we're calling it quits. We got married so young, we want to go out and experience life. And I remember him saying that he didn't want anybody else raising his girls.
And you know what? And that was, again, great advice that everybody gave me. And everybody gave me. One of my cousins, my dad, and everybody said, you might think grass is greener on the other side. You will find, it won't be difficult,
For you to find another man.
Right, and for him to find another woman, but then your kids didn't ask to be here.
Yeah.
How would they be treated? So as long as, he wasn't abusing you all and abusing me, I just know that, some marital things that we had to get together.
Right.
And we did worked it out.
What was the hardest decade of your marriage? First 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. When did you see what was the hardest and why?
I think the third, around the third, around the...
So within 30 years?
20, 25, and 30 years.
The hardest? Well, I'm not talking about your ages.
Okay.
I'm talking about like decade of marriage, like the first decade, meaning the first 10 years, the second decade. Like, when did you start to coast and be like, oh, okay, you know what, we cool. This is gonna be cool. I'm gonna ride life out with you.
Well, okay, all right. I think it was around the 30th.
Okay, 30 years, I guess I'm gonna stay.
Because at that point, you have gained your independence.
Yeah.
You say, either we're going to do it together, or we're not, and I can handle it, with or without you. I'm going to make my life happy.
Yeah.
I want to be happy. The kids are grown or in college or on their own.
We're independent.
Right. So it's a decision that need to be made and need to be made now.
Are we gonna do this or are we not?
And
I think a lot of marriages will come to that point at all of them actually, to just be like, let's take an assessment.
And
to see, do you want the rest of your life to
most
be
times sooner than later.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of marriages don't work. But you need to come to that conclusion. Because you don't need to ever do it for the kids.
Yeah, don't ever do it for the kids.
Don't ever do it for the kids.
Because they will.
They
know. Kids know.
They will grow up. They will grow up.
And
but
move
then,
out.
They will grow up and move out, and then who?
Then you're stuck to look at this person, and you're like,
I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. So the sooner you make that decision, it's better. It's better.
So
but to have a lot of different men over the girls, that was one reason, and vice versa. Because I know there would have been some institutionalized killing. I had 3 beautiful daughters.
That would have been a problem.
That would have been a big issue. So
Yeah.
I said, well, I got to sacrifice.
So, and I guess that's one thing about getting married young. And I just want to segue into blended families because, I've made a piece of a career at this point in helping people that experience conflict in blended families, the people that couldn't figure it out and said, let's go our separate ways, but now we have these kids to raise. You have watched me be a stepmom. You've met my stepkids. We brought them to Memphis before, and I remember we had so much fun. They got to experience who I am from my own perspective. They got to see that I came from a big, loving family. you've gotten also to see, and you've been privy to some of the conflict also that I've experienced, because I fell in love with a dude that was previously married and that was divorced. If you could have a conversation with my stepkid's mother, with their mom, because I feel like similar situations, you both got married in college, sophomore year in college, they're so similar situations. You have a set of twins. There's a same age difference between my oldest stepdaughter and her younger twin siblings. Like, there's a lot of similarities, you know. Small girls, girls from smaller towns. And you've seen some of the things that my family has experienced by way of that. If you could have words with somebody whose shoes you didn't divorce, whose shoes you were once in, what would you say to her, especially knowing that I'm your daughter and some of the things that have happened?
Number one, I do like to hats off to you and to applaud you, because you know how you handle it. It was only ordered by the Lord.
It's been tough.
It have not been.
It's definitely been tough.
Absolutely, and I thank God for it, because I, like you say, I am mom, and what you was going through, I was.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I would like to do, especially being a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
I would like, one day, to talk to the young lady.
Oh, so we're gonna have to conclude it, but obviously we're gonna continue this conversation. Is there any advice you have for me, as now I'm in my 40s? Any advice you have for me as I go up in this aging process? Like, what do I need to know? Am I gonna grow hair? Am I gonna lose hair? Am I gonna metabolism? Just give me some advice on something that I need to know about this next season of my life.
I think like we just said earlier, you're gonna have to accept the things that you can't change, but positively, or grow gracefully, and to learn, and spiritually grow, and then have a foundation where. And you have already set a platform with beauty products or blending in black. I encourage you to continue to do that, because the more you share yourself with others, the more that it comes back to you bountifully. So that is indeed a blessing.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. It's so you are my very first guest. So this has been a good episode. What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's been absolutely awesomeness.
All right. Well, listen, I'll see you all next time. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And leave my mom some kudos in the comments. I'm sure she will appreciate it, and she'll definitely be reading them. So thank you all so much for the love and support. And I will see you next time.
Thank you. All right. So what time is it?
I think
7:30.